Hello, thank you so much for joining this Emergency Home Learning Summit session. My name is Siobhan Dannaher, and I'm a librarian and research coach at Bishop O'Connell High School in Arlington. Please feel free to connect on Twitter if you have any questions or feedback. I'm also more than happy to share any resources on request. Today, I wanted to talk about the creative potential of interdisciplinary collaboration within our schools. In other words, how can we foster more frequent opportunities for collaboration and community within our school faculty? As colleagues, we are the prime candidates for validating concerns and providing a gauge to help situate expectations of our students in a larger context. So, why teacher collaboration? Why should that be so important? What immediate gains do teachers obtain from sharing their time and ideas? Ideally, it is to make the most of our collective resources and gifts. We can rely on our colleagues to support us in exploring teaching dilemmas, expanding our repertoire of solutions, and implementing innovative plans. We can consider and solve problems collectively instead of individually. And various research also shows that student learning improves radically when teachers are communicating and sharing among themselves. Distance teaching. Teaching in the best of circumstances can be a lonely experience, and distance teaching can exacerbate the isolation. That said, as a librarian and research coach, my chief responsibility is to bring evidence-based research practices into classrooms by partnering with all teachers throughout the school. So I'm always looking for ways to court my fellow educators. Occasionally, when I lack the time to partner with teachers, I begin to match people up who seem to have complementary goals and working styles. And this matchmaking actually snowballed into a full-on initiative of promoting cooperative partnerships and team teaching, both within and across disciplines, which was very exciting. Another consideration when we talk about collaboration is space and time. Research concurs that collaborative time for teachers to undertake school improvement may be more important than equipment or faculties or even staff development. Teachers learn the most from conversations with other teachers. The greatest staff development happens in those everyday conversations. We want to create that opportunity as often as possible. Common space, common time, and common work frames frame the support and learning that teachers can experience in the company of their colleagues. Providing ample space and time is always a dilemma, and usually teachers have one or the other. I'm afraid that I don't have the definitive answer to this issue, but in regards to space, our faculty were given the library to utilize as the Learning Commons this year, and it's been a boon to have such a beautiful, expansive area just to work together. A completely dedicated space. Our school also implemented PLC cohorts this year, personal learning communities, among our faculty, and blocked out time in the yearly schedule for each PLC to take turns meeting during the school assemblies, retreats, pep rallies, and other events. The PLCs were themed around specific interests such as service learning, Catholic faith integration, social emotional learning, research, literacy and student writing, student engagement, and project-based learning. Teachers met in groups of 5 to 15 and discussed problems of practice and offered lessons to be analyzed and critiqued for improvement. Despite the fact that these meetings took significant amounts of time, the teachers surveyed reported that the PLCs improved the teachers' methods and techniques, and they were fully worthwhile. Other schools have used approaches like promoting a large class framework where the teachers teach fewer classes and have more time to confer with colleagues. Grants have been used to carve out additional time in the year, and some schools will even use something called partnership concepts to team up with a sister school or nearby university to teach students in the morning with guest lectures, while the teachers work on curriculum and lesson plans on dedicated days. A couple of other ideas include adding additional time to the school day or altering staff utilization patterns so that various administrators regularly take over the teaching duties so that teachers can meet together. According to educator and author Robert John Meehan, the most valuable resource that all teachers have is one another. Without collaboration, our growth is limited to our own perspective. As brilliantly creative as educators are, we can easily fall into ruts in our teaching life, and we all have blind spots, unhelpful patterns, and weaknesses. Our profession is intricately complex and multifaceted. The only individuals who can really understand the level of work that we do are fellow educators. In my conversations with teachers, many are intrigued by the novel idea of team teaching and attempting to create more multidisciplinary projects. Ideally, these collaborations would ease the burden for individual teachers and create more opportunities for conversation and ideas both within the departments and across the departments. The overall goal is to unite teachers in extended face-to-face dialogue that translates into more engaging multidisciplinary projects. Research done by ASCD relays that successful schools are distinguished by the frequency and extent to which teachers discuss their practice, collaboratively design materials, and inform and critique one another. This is exactly what a PLC does, and I can report firsthand the importance of allowing teachers to share and support one another. Teachers who work in strongly collaborative cultures behave so differently from those who depend on admin to create the conditions of their work. In collaborative cultures, teachers' individual and collective behaviors enable them to maintain a consistent focus on student learning and exercise the flexibility that they require to grow and flourish. This diagram is actually taken from another diagram distributed by ASCD, and it basically compares collaborative cultures to top-down cultures. And as you can see, collaborative cultures, in them, teachers support one another in their efforts to improve instruction. Teachers take responsibility for solving problems. They accept the consequences of their decision. They have autonomy. Ideas are shared. And as one person builds on another ideas, a new synergy develops. And new ideas are evaluated in light of shared goals. On the other hand, with top-down cultures, ideas are very limited to the tried and true. What has been done in the past, ideas and pet projects belonging to individual teachers are limited, and development is limited. Teachers are totally dependent on their principals to solve the problems, causing them to blame others for their difficulties and complain about the consequences of their decisions. And teachers are discouraged to challenge the status quo. Besides participating in a formal PLC, what does collaboration look like precisely? Well, it can look like a multitude of things, and some of my favorites include co-teaching opportunities, multidisciplinary assignments, and making connections among the various disciplines, and all those cross-merge as well. The co-teaching relationship serves to merge wonderfully rich teacher expertise and experiences to enhance classroom teaching. For example, some teachers are typically skilled in individualizing curriculum and instruction based on student needs, while other educators, on the other hand, tend to have a broad knowledge of the curriculum, standards, and the desired outcomes for the larger groups. At our school, our professional development team is made up of 4 or 5 individuals, depending on the year, and these specialists will often be called upon to co-teach or meet with teachers in lesson planning. Our team consists of a main instructional coach, a technology coach, a literacy specialist, a mission integration specialist, and myself, a research coach. So some examples of co-teaching include one teach and one observe model, where the teacher delivers instruction, one teacher delivers instruction, while the other observes student learning. And usually the observer collects data on student understanding and runs a running record or just takes notes so that the co-teaching team can better plan future instruction. And sometimes they'll switch back and forth in this model. And sometimes specific students are watched closely so that the teacher can determine new strategies to use with them. Our literacy specialist will most often use this model. Another model is one teach, one assist. One teacher takes the lead in providing instruction while the other moves around the classroom assisting struggling students. This help is not limited to students with special needs. The assisting professional is there to serve whomever needs support. And I actually adopt this model most frequently when I team teach, one teach and one assist. Parallel teaching is a third model. The class is divided into 2 groups, and the same material is presented simultaneously by both teachers. The teachers plan out the 2 groups deliberately to maximize the success of all students. So this is not a pull-out or an intervention group sitting in the same room. This is actual parallel teaching. And that's most often used actually with teacher teams. So 2 teachers working in the same discipline teaching the same course, and they want to fulfill responsibilities at the same time. Another model is station teaching. That's where both teachers are actively involved in instruction and students are divided into groups and they rotate from one station to the next. There may be stations where students work independently or with a paraprofessional in addition to the 2 stations that the co-teachers facilitate. And that can definitely be more than 2 teachers as well. Alternative teaching is where one teacher takes a small group of students and provides them with more intensive or specialized instruction that is a little different than what the larger group receives from the other teacher. And then team teaching is exactly what it sounds like. Both teachers teach the content at the same time in tandem or tag team. And both educators in all these models have equal status, equal responsibility, and each model is valuable and used in such different ways. As far as multidisciplinary assignments, during this time of distance learning and hybrid schedules, these assignments have become a huge topic of interest for our teachers. Our PLCs are composed of teachers from across all disciplines, and it's caused all of us to become more aware of the parallels and connections among our various subjects. How can drama inform English class, or how can a lesson on business enhance a social studies unit? Some of these questions came up, and they're really valuable, even just to ponder, even if there's no real action taken on them. But we've decided to take action. As in the real world, knowledge is not isolated into tiny buckets. For example, scientists use history, engineers use artistic design, artists hypothesize and experiment. And according to Robert A. Heinlein, specialization is for insects, and humans should be able to cultivate many skills. And I think the quote goes on to talk about the skills can be in a variety of areas, such as planning an invasion, butchering a hog, designing a building, composing a sonnet, balancing accounts, building walls, setting bones, solving equations, analyzing problems, pitching manure, programming a computer, cooking a meal, fighting efficiently, and dying gallantly. It's kind of a silly example, but it serves to illustrate that we as humans, we're multifaceted. We need lots of different skills in lots of different areas. And in school, on the other hand, we tend to learn and teach subjects in very segmented disciplines, which is easier in some ways to organize and to kind of put our brains across. But who says that that's the best and only way? And that's kind of the question that we were pondering in our PLCs. Interestingly, also, there are many studies on how interdisciplinary teaching increases student learning. Some key learning goals among all educators are developing student knowledge, insights, problem-solving skills, self-confidence, self-efficacy, as well as passionate curiosity. And no matter what discipline teachers teach, all of these skills are relevant to them. And interdisciplinary instruction and exploration promotes all of these learning objectives. Experts also assert that interdisciplinary instruction fosters strong advances in cognitive ability, as well as the ability to recognize bias, think critically, tolerate ambiguity, and acknowledge and appreciate ethical concerns. All things that we try and teach our students. According to the National Council of Teachers of English, educational experiences are more authentic and of greater value to students when the curriculum reflects real life, which is multifaceted, rather than being compartmentalized into neat subject matter packages. Again, real-world problems are really complex, and no single discipline can adequately unpack these issues. Therefore, interdisciplinary forms of learning are becoming more popular in education, especially higher education. So the main gain is, we can say that the main objective is that students should seek to understand issues by exploring many facets and perspectives. Thus, interdisciplinary forms of exploration are becoming more and more compelling. What are some examples? Art and science teachers have come together to generate the following exciting projects. Biology students are recreating the parts of the cell and the parts of the brain using toothpicks, paint, and other craft supplies. Students using glow sticks or glow paint are studying chemical reactions. There are pendulum paintings in physics that are being done. And also mixing Epsom salts and hot water in a chemical reaction to make spiky crystals. Another good example of a project involves an English teacher incorporating bioethics considerations into a novel study. Students could read The Immortal Life of Henrietta Lacks and research the story about how Lacks cells were taken without her consent, only to be harvested and sold for billions, and used to conduct experimental research and make vaccines without her knowledge. In regards to bioethics, students can also learn about the history of using disenfranchised people for medical experiments. The book can also tie into projects about medical science, genetic experimentation, all while encouraging both critical thinking and literature analysis. Finally, a religion teacher, a business teacher, and a social studies teacher came together to create a highly innovative class exercise, which started by dividing students into small groups. Each group had a budget, which they would use to choose to spend at one of 3 stations. Each station had a unique economic, social, or moral incentive. An economic incentive could be used to get faster transportation, while a social incentive could be to host a party. A moral incentive could be to make a charity donation, and so on and so forth. So once every group had spent the budget, they tallied the purchase to see which station had sold the most incentives. This opened the door to 2 primary reflection exercises. First, as a class, they discussed how each group spent its money and why. Second, they wrote about why particularly they chose their specific initiatives and which is more important and what their argument was for that. So I just want to leave you with some questions to ponder as you think about all these things. One is, how can I bring a totally unexpected skill or modality to my content area in order to deepen learning for my students? How can I work with a colleague from another class or a grade or a subject area to create a brand new project? And how can I connect academic learning to its real-world application so students can understand its value and purpose? Thank you so much for your time and attention. And again, I have my Twitter handle here and my email. You can find me there. And all the resources are listed here. So thank you so much again, and have a wonderful day.